When Renault decided to throw the still smoldering ashes of Alpine into the blaze to give birth to Renault Sport, they gave birth to a machine that looks like an unidentified flying object fallen from the sky in the middle of a Twingo dealership, the Speeder. This car will be a delightful anomaly in the galaxy of generalist manufacturers. Something that screams, "Look at me," like a billboard on wheels, costing next to nothing to develop and capable of holding the road like a prima ballerina on point, despite an engine that is sorely lacking in power. With this Speeder, Renault Sport planted its flag in the ground in order to quickly make people forget that Alpine had just breathed its last. Today we're looking back at the biggest meltdown of the brand with the diamonds. It all started in 1989 in a dusty corner called the Barracks, the Bureau of Exploratory Research and Studies. Inside, a group of engineers in white coats are working on the W71 project. The idea is to hatch a little Alpine, a kind of lively and agile car that would come, either to tease the upcoming A610 or to steal the show later by returning to the pure, hard roots of the A110. Two prototypes are rigged up in 1990 with different looks, set on a self-supporting steel chassis developed just for her. Meanwhile, Renault unveils at the Paris Motor Show a concept car named Laguna, which has nothing to do with the future sedan. Designed by Jean-Pierre Plouet, this minimalist car resembles a rolling sculpture and lays the foundation for what will later inspire the brains behind the Speeder. But here's the thing. In 1991, the 610 comes off the assembly line, while the W71 is floundering and convinces no one. Reduced to 2 seats and lightened like an anorexic in treatment, it would lose all its charm with the addition of a minimum of modern comfort. And given the disastrous sales of the 610, Alpine no longer believes in anything and therefore throws the 71 project in the trash. Alpine must therefore disappear. And Renault Sport, which shines in Formula One with Williams, thinks it's time to capitalize on this name that smells of hot oil, rather than on a brand like Alpine, which has completely lost its way. The 610 will not have a little sister. But to launch Renault Sport with a bang, you need a model that pops. Something that stays etched in the retinas like a fireworks explosion. Something that will be produced in small series while waiting to unveil more normal models later. So we will wait until 2000 to see the arrival of the Clio 2 RS and its unlikely companion, the less normal Clio 5.6. In the meantime, at the beginning of 1993, a technical meeting gives birth to the W94 project. The design is sketched by Benoit Jacob, under the sharp eye of Patrick Lequaimont, while on the technical side, they recycle the basics of the W71, entrusted to Nogaro Technologies and Claude Fior. With a boost from Daniel Charles from Renault Sport, the first proto sees the light of day at the beginning of 1994, followed by a second in the summer. In September, Louis Schweitzer, the big boss, gives his green light, seduced by this strange beast. Forget the almost sensible lines of the W71. Here we're talking about a radical speeder, offered in 2 flavors. The minimalist version, with a ridiculous wind jump, forcing the pilot to wear a helmet, weighs 930 kilograms of pure madness. The other, more civilized if you can say, offers a real windshield, and weighs 965 kilograms. For the engine, we choose a 4-cylinder F7R of 1,998 cc, borrowed from the Clio Williams and boosted for the Megane Coupe, which spits 150 horses and a torque of 185 newtons. Not enough to make a dragster tremble, but enough to have fun. In March 1995, Renault Sport unveils its Speeder at the Geneva Motor Show. The perfect place to show off this toy. The prototype is perfectly finished and reassures everyone. Deepa. The Alpine factory will continue production after the 610's discontinuation by manufacturing the Speeder. But here's the thing, the Speeder, it's a bit like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Alpine purists are upset that it didn't carry the Afflamio C. Choned C. Their bad faith proves at least one thing. This thing is desirable even to the grumpy ones. The public, however, adores it. After the exceptional F1 event in late 1994, The Speeder tops off an incredible sports range for Renault Clio, Williams, Safran, Viterbo, and soon the Megane Coupe. Yes, okay, the Megane Coupe. In the sports category, I might be overdoing it. In short, the cherry on the hood, a trophy version for a one-make race. And in the pipeline, the first series speeders came out in July 1995 at 200,000 francs each. Twice cheaper than the last Alpine, that being said, but more expensive than the Lotus Elise. This little English lady as light as a feather launched shortly after. With its aluminum chassis, its aircraft carrier rigidity, its sophisticated suspensions, and its drop-dead gorgeous line, the Speeder is a real rolling dream. Everything was there to make it a perfect little sports car. But let's be honest, its engine is a bit of a weak link. Like a tenor who sings off-key, it could handle much more than its measly 150 asthmatic horses. That said, the performance, even if it's not mind-blowing, still allows you to go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 7 seconds, and to max out at 206 kilometers per hour. In any case, it is radical and does not aim for stratospheric sales. Only 1,726 copies were made between 1995 and 1999, including 80 trophies. France and Germany sweep the stakes, with a few Japanese crazy enough to adopt it. Despite the absence of a right-hand drive, 438 madmen opt for the wind jump, while others prefer the windshield, more practical for going to get bread. Handmade, each speeder has the raw charm of rare objects. In 1999, the Clio 2 RS takes over on a real assembly line, with 50,000 units until 2006. For the artisanal side, the Clio 5.6, concocted with TWR, replaces the Speeder as a Renault sports shooting star. But we will talk about that in due course. So don't hesitate to subscribe and tell me in the comments if you've ever had the chance to see or try a Renault Spider.